Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today I have another loose watercolor floral painting for you, and I'm using these DIY sets from Tombow, and the two sets have 8 Tombow watercolor markers, and each of the sets has this blending palette and a waterbrush and two foldable canvases, so you can, when you've done your painting, you can fold that little canvas thing so it looks more dimensional and looks better when you hang it onto your wall. There are the instructions on the back. They also have instructions for the paintings they have on their cover of the sets, but I will create my own painting and I decide to go with a sketchy flower, and as I don't want to start with a brand new flower, I will use my sketchbook as kind of a guide because I don't want to ruin these canvases. I'm using pen and ink for my sketch. It's a waterproof ink, and I will start by sketching out my floral elements, and then I will let this dry overnight to make sure that the ink doesn't bleed. As always, I'm keeping this video in real time so you can sketch along with me. If it's too slow for you, you can always use this YouTube setting and increase the speed. I'm really sorry that I go out of the frame here. I'm sketching the flower over these crease lines, and so everything I sketch out these lines will be on the side when I build this little box. I think it looks really nice when something of the element of the painting is on the edges. And as always, I try to be very loose. I don't mind when some lines go wonky or go in the wrong direction. That's not important for me. I'm done with my sketch, and as I said, I will let this dry overnight before I color it in with the Tombow markers. You can use them just as watercolors. And I'm really sorry, but I forgot to hit the record button of my camera. I'm so glad I recognized this early enough, so I didn't paint the whole thing without recording. I have already started with the flower. I used the lightest pink I have and colored it in using this water brush, and I used a lot of water from this brush, so I pressed it to get more water out of it. Water brushes are not my favorite, I have to say. It's so hard to paint with them. I even bought some travel brushes, some normal travel brushes, and I use little containers for water when I'm traveling because I hate these water brushes. It's a good quality water brush, I would say. It has a really fine tip and it works really good with the amount of water you get out of it. But for me it's not playful enough, so I will soon switch to a normal brush. I also used the darker pink, which is more bright, and I also used a violet color to make it a little bit more darker for the shadow areas. As always, I'm blending out the color to the background a little bit to make everything look more loose. And here I'm switching to a normal brush. It's just much more easy and loose and fun to paint with a normal brush. I will give you a list of the colors I've used in the video description because I don't have those in mind. I just want to try if I can use the Tombow marker just on my glass plate, and of course it works, but I find the blending plate works a little bit better. I have no idea if there is a difference, but I will later use the blending palette again, and I have the feeling it takes more color out of the pen. Here I just tried to get into directly with the pen, but that was not a good idea because it was very wet in this area and that doesn't work really well. I tried these markers before on the back side of one of these foldable canvases just to see if they will blend, if I apply them directly, and yes, they do. Even if this is not a watercolor paper, I believe it's a 100% recycled paper if I am not mistaken. And as always, I'm just working as if I would work with watercolors here. I just play loose. I don't give much attention on realism. It's just fun, and it should be nice and pretty, I think. I really like the orange mixing with the pink, so I decided to use the darker one and just add a little bit of this. And what I also recognized is that this canvas can take a lot of layers of water. I believe you can make a wash over the whole canvas because it will buckle, and later when you mount it together it will maybe look a bit strange, and if you have small areas and go over it and over it and over it, it doesn't ruin the surface of the paper. I now go in and paint the leaves. I have two greens here, so obviously I will use those two. I really like both of them. I think they are both really pretty, and by just mixing them, for example, you can make another shade of green, and I will use this purple color I have to mix it with the darker green to create kind of a bluish neutral green for the other leaves. So I have some variation in color. And you see, I'm painting outside the lines. I don't color in everything exactly. I am not a good colorer, I would say. I don't know the right word for it, but I am not good at this. I always overwork everything. So I just keep everything loose all the time, so it looks as if I want to have everything outside the lines and not perfectly colored in. And so it's also pretty, I think, even if I'm not perfect with coloring. So I think if you don't like coloring, or if you always make mistakes, or if you say it's not my thing to color something in for hours, why not go for a quick and loose style? It can look really pretty, I think. And here I mixed this purple color with the green, and it gives me a really bluish neutral color, and I really like this. It matches the other two colors perfectly. I mixed another dark shade to color in these tiny leaves. I add some splatters also to the canvas. I made some green ones, and here I make some with the orange, and I will also use the pink. I really think that brightens everything up and makes it more loose, and I just love that style. To be true, I really wished their blending palette would be twice as big or even bigger, because it's a really nice tool to have on hand, because my desk is always pretty dirty, and I also, if I'm blending colors directly on my glass plate, I have to wipe it away later, and it's just easy, and it's a nice thing, and I believe it's also great to use it for other mediums such as ink or so. I'm adding a little bit of color to the background because I'm not a fan of pure white backgrounds, so everything looks more complete. I have the feeling that I need some more shadows and some more contrast, so I decided to go in with the markers directly. The painting is not completely dry, but it's not super wet, so it works really good to go in directly with the markers. Here I'm using the water brush again to blend in the lines. That's where water brushes are really nice to use. I also like them to color in stamped images when I add color with a watercolor pencil or with a water-soluble marker such as the Tombows. Then it's super great to just blend these colors out into the image. But for painting, I always prefer a normal brush. I also decided to make the leaves a bit darker and give them more contrast. I really like the dimension the contrast adds to the painting, and I will just add a little bit more contrast to the flower on the bottom, and then I will just make some photos for you and you can have a close-up look. And of course I will also give you a photo of the build-it canvas. And here you have some photos of the finished canvas when I build it up in the three-dimensional form, and I think it's really pretty. It has a lot of holes on the back side where you can hang it up in each direction. It's super pretty, I think. And that was my video for today. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe you are inspired to paint some loose flowers today. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Bye!